Oh, I hate it so much, bro. Whenever Bungie drops a new season into our laps, my priorities as a YouTuber are kind of thrown out of whack. I usually prioritize content and the prepping for the day one raid over having fun, which is kind of sad to think about, but hey, I chose this wacky goddamn career path myself. Anyway, I banged out a couple of videos, grinded what I wanted to grind, prepped for the raid, did the raid, made a guide on the raid, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't until the other day that I finally decided to fiddle around with the new Hunter exotic armor, and as soon as I laid eyes on the exotic perk, what the ever-loving f***? This thing is quite good, as I will soon show you. I'll share with you everything I learned in my way too long private testing session, including how to maybe defend yourself against this goddamn thing when Trials comes back into town later in the month. By the way, hi, my name is Fallout. Thank you for checking out today's video, and if you're new, click the subscribe button for a 22% chance of me gently whispering your name out loud to no one before falling asleep tonight. I'm gonna break today's video into two big chunks. Chunk 1 is gonna be covering the exotic in PvP, and chunk 2 is covering the exotic in PvE, because spoiler alert, it shines in both. But real quick, I gotta tell you about the sponsor of today's video, the First Descendant. Yep, the new looter shooter coming to PC and console. There's a hot new trailer out for the game, and I gotta tell you, it looks pretty damn action-packed. Every unique character has a sick design, and the combat looks wild. Characters have customizable elements, and you'll be able to play as 10 different characters during the closed beta test this autumn. I'm not sure how we're gonna handle fighting boss monsters as huge as the ones I'm seeing in the trailer, but with 4-player co-op, I'm sure that working together, me and the boys will be able to figure something out. Especially with all the high-flying, grappling, somersaulting, and ground-pounding action. Set in a sci-fi-based fantasy world, players become the Descendant, who has inherited an unknown power to protect mankind, defend the Igris continent from invaders, and unravel the secrets behind the Descendant's power. There's a Steam beta test coming for the game from October 20th to the 26th. Don't miss out. Register for the test and add it to your Steam wishlist by checking the First Descendant Steam homepage. Again, that beta test is dropping October 20th, so go to the First Descendant Steam page and don't forget to add it to your wishlist. Alright, back to the content. Okay, starting with PvP, here's how the Falcon's exotic perk works. Step 1, go invis. You can do that any way you want. You can do a hunter dodge, you can do a little void dive shebang, you can even activate the exotic perk by going camo with Rat King. More on that later. Step 2, either wait for invis to end naturally, or end it preemptively by firing your gun or doing anything else that would otherwise make you not camo anymore. Step 3, commit crimes. When your camo is over, your hunter will get a 15% outgoing damage buff for a grand total of 3 seconds. I know the timer on the HUD says 2, but remember there's a full second between when the timer hits 0 and when the perk goes away, so 3 total. I know a 3-second window doesn't sound like a lot, but that's only half a second shorter than Kill Clip, a perk we all know to be the OG granddaddy extra damage weapon perk for PvP. While 15% isn't as much damage as Kill Clip, which hovers around 30%, it's still more than Rampage level 1, and again, especially if you're a camo hunter by trade, you're getting a damage buff for playing no differently than how you would normally play. You're getting rewarded for just doing nothing different. It would be like if some strange man walked into your home and gave you a $50 reward for waking up in the morning every morning. Now, before we get into what exactly you can do with a free 15% damage buff in PvP, I need to point something out. If you were to shoot your weapon to preemptively end camo, the first shot to come out of your gun, the one that you used to end camo, that shot won't get the damage buff. I did a little experimenting with pulse rifles right away to see if maybe the first bullet in the burst wouldn't get the extra damage, but maybe hoping the other bullets would. And no, they don't. If you're using a weapon like a hand cannon or a pulse rifle or any other traditional damage dealing weapon, your first shot, if used to preemptively end camo, will not get the extra damage, but your following shots will. Now, while that is kind of a bummer for you shady hunter mains out there, there are upsides. For example, the act of charging up a fusion rifle will preemptively end your camo. Therefore, if you're camo while wearing the Gyrfalcon and you charge a fusion rifle, you will get the extra damage output on your first shot out of camo. Why? Because by the time the fusion rifle fires, enough time has gone by from your camo effect ending, and the game gives you the extra damage buff. In all the matches I played while using the Gyrfalcon, I found fusion rifles to be very consistent in benefiting from this exotic. Hey, knock knock. Who's there? Numbers, bitch. On an adaptive frame fusion rifle, you normally deal 39 damage per bolt, meaning that landing 5 bolts will dish out around 195 damage, which can kill some guardians, but not all guardians. If their resil is too high, they won't die, and it probably will be because we're in a high resil meta right now. However, with the Gyrfalcon's 15% damage bump, the damage per bolt goes up to 45, meaning that if you land 5 bolts, that's a whopping 225 damage, enough to kill any unshielded jabroni from good range. And that is the true power of the Gyrfalcon exotic in PvP. Not a wild amount of extra damage, but just enough to make you a pain in the ass to the other team. Let's quickly touch on other weapons that benefit noticeably from the Gyrfalcon. High impact pulse rifles love the extra damage output. Even though a high impact pulse like the No Time to Explain can already perfectly 2-burst on its own, it requires a perfect 100% headshot accuracy. Gyrfalcon gives you more wiggle room. The buffed up damage will take your body shot damage up to 26 and your headshot damage up to 41. We found that a full 1 headshot burst and a full body shot burst will straight up kill any guardian with 8 resil and below. You have to be 9 or 10 in order to live. That also means, by the way, that if you intentionally end camo early by shooting your no time and landing every bullet in the head, with unbuffed damage, you're looking at around 108-ish damage. When the extra damage kicks in with your follow-up burst, if only 1 bullet goes into the head and the remaining 2 go into the body, you're still able to kill any guardian at 8 resil or below. Not too shabby at all. And that's kind of the way you should be using the Gyrfalcon. If you're in PvP and you have a clean shot, don't shoot off to the side or wait for camo to end for the damage buff. Shoot your gun like you normally would. That first shot won't get the buff, but it'll still kick in and make your optimal time to kill that much easier. While we're talking about pulse rifles, Wing does really well with the new Hunter exotic. Already hitting pretty hard on its own, a full burst in the head comes out at around 120 damage. That's because the gun has a 5-bullet burst by default. Actually, at most resil levels, you can kill with 1 full burst to the head and 1 full burst to the body. The damage output is that good. With the Falcon though, you can pretty much kill anyone at any level of resil with 1 full body shot and 1 full headshot, even if you end camo by landing that first shot entirely in the body. The Falcon won't always shorten your weapon's time to kill, but it will make it easier to hit that time to kill. Crimson also really digs the Gyrfalcon. Normally you'll do 31 damage per bullet to the head for a grand total of 93 damage per trigger pull, not enough for a 2-tap in PvP. The Falcon damage buff though pumps that number up to 35 to the head. 2 pulls of the trigger with the full damage buff is enough to 2-tap anybody, but by pulling the trigger to end camo early and only getting 1 buffed headshot, you still have enough punching power to put down anyone at 8 resil or lower. How about the last word? Normally you're doing 39 to the body and 69 damage to the head. When buffed, that turns into 44 to the body and 80 to the head. Usually last word requires a 3-tap right to the dome to get a kill. By preemptively ending camo with a body shot and then firing 2 more at the head, you can get a rare 1 body 2 headshot kill with the last word. And because you know it was coming, Le Monarch. Fear not, even though Monarch can be a menace when paired with the Gyrfalcon, you can protect yourself. If the enemy guardian has 5 resil or lower, they will die from the Gyrfalcon and just 1 arrow from Monarch together, which honestly should be pretty rare in the current meta. If you're only running 5 resil in PvP, I want you to imagine that I'm reaching out through your phone and flicking you on the forehead right now. If you're being a little devil may care with your loadout and see the other team has a Gyrfalcon player with Monarch, do a quick vibe check on your resil and make sure you're at 6 or higher. 140 RPM hand cannons get a pretty sweet deal. Normally they do 70 damage in the head and 47 damage in the body, meaning, yeah, you can get a 3-tap, but every bullet has got to be a headshot. With the Gyrfalcon, the damage goes up to 81 in the head and 54 in the body. That means that if you intentionally end camo by shooting the other guy, but accidentally get a body shot, no problem. If you land both follow-up shots in the head, that's a grand total of 211 damage, enough for a 3-tap, even though you landed 1 in the gut. Ace of Spades might be one of the best weapons to pair together with the Falcon though. Already rocking a damage buff perk of its own, Memento Mori, you will be horrified to learn that yeah, Mori does stack together with the Falcon damage buff. As I mentioned, Ace with the regular Falcon buff is 81 in the head and 54 in the body. With Mori and Falcon together, you get a whopping 104 to the head, enough for an easy 2-tap on literally anybody. But that would be on the condition that you wait for the camo to end. What if there's a dude right in front of you though, and you want to end camo early by shooting him? Well, with 1 unbuffed Mori shot and 1 buffed Mori shot, you're still putting out 194 damage. That's still enough to 2-tap anyone at 6 resil or lower. 7 and above will live. Also, if you have Mori activated and you end camo preemptively by shooting, Falcon and Mori together will allow for an unheard of 1 head and 2 body shot kill combo. Maybe the most generous way to get a hand cannon 3-tap in PvP ever. Here's one that you're probably not gonna like, but hey, like Monarch, I will give you the info you need to protect yourself. RB, aka the Arbalist, aka the gun that should never have been made. RB can deal a whopping 190 damage to the body with Falcon, resulting in a 1-hit body shot kill. However, don't panic. All you need to do is hit 5 Resil or higher and you're good to go. Only 4 and below will die to a Falcon RB, which is good because again, we are in a high Resil meta, and honestly, fuck that gun in the ear. And while I could go on forever showing you how pretty much most weapons in the game will benefit wildly from a 15% damage buff, let's show just 2 more for PvP. First up, Devil's Ruin, one of my all-time favorite weapons in D2, criminally underappreciated in PvP. Like fusion rifles, the Devil's Ruin will end your camo preemptively if you begin the charge-up process, making it a perfect pairing. While the time to kill isn't going to change too much, you can ramp up the damage to 41 per tick on a headshot laser beam, which is completely wild. Always remember that Devil's Ruin is a primary that can literally melt supers on its own. Final PvP weapon to talk about, Rat King. As mentioned earlier, the Gyrfalcon will work with any form of camo, including the Rat King. Reloading after a Rat King kill will provide you with free camo, opening up the very interesting possibility of allowing you to still take advantage of the Gyrfalcon damage buff while not playing on a Void Hunter. And by the way, if your brain immediately went to, hey Fallout, does the Falcon damage buff stack with Radiant on a Solar Hunter? I want you to know that I think you're truly sick for thinking that, because I immediately thought of it too. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, they do not stack together, which by the way, keep that in mind for the PvE talk coming in about half a minute. But yeah, no, Radiant and Gyrfalcon do not stack. Rat King with the Falcon damage buff can get up to 59 damage on a headshot and 42 damage on a body shot, translating to a 2 head and 2 body shot kill. TLDR on the PvP side, 15% is more than you think, especially when, again, you're being rewarded for playing no differently at all. It won't always make your time to kill shorter, but it will make hitting your optimal time to kill easier. Expect this exotic to make a big splash in the debut of Trials. Moving on to the PvE side of things, the numbers on the Falcon actually become more generous, if you can believe that. When your camo is over, the Falcon gives you a 35% outgoing damage buff for 6 seconds. That is so unbelievably generous, and it gives the Void Hunter the ability to put out both a debuff in the form of Tether and a self-empowering buff at the same time. If you're not a filthy little number junkie like me, allow me to refresh your memory with a handy little damage cheat sheet courtesy of our good friend Court. 35% outgoing damage is stronger than the Empowering Rift, stronger than High Energy Fire, stronger than Radiant Well, and stronger than the Titan Bubble. Gyrfalcon is on the same level as having ×3 Argent Ordnance, which come the fuck on a self-procced ability that you can refresh pretty much whenever you want. Gotta tell you, if you're a hunter in PvE and you're just not quite sure what to use, I see Gyrfalcon being pretty much the universal, why not pick? Especially if you're one of the people out there who don't have the Divinity, aka the best PvE weapon in the history of ever. If that's you, you probably rely on Hunter Tether to debuff whatever it is you're fighting in endgame content. And if you're rocking a Tether, why not have the Falcon on at that point? Remember earlier I said that the Falcon doesn't stack with Radiant? Again, that's because empowering buffs do not stack with one another. Not weapon buffs, empowering buffs. They're different. It's like how you can't stack a Titan Bubble and a Warlock Well together. But the same basic law applies. Highest damage number wins. Meaning, if you're a hunter standing in a Warlock Well with Gyrfalcon active, everyone else is going to be doing 25% more damage, but you will be doing 35% more damage. But wait, there's more. In PvE, if you use a finisher on an enemy while camo, you and your allies get both improved class ability regen and a reserve overshield. Not an overshield right then and there on the spot, a reserve overshield, as in you get one in your back pocket that you can then activate whenever you want by using your class ability. I tried to see if maybe there was a time limit on how long the game gives you to activate your reserve overshield, and I don't think there is one. As long as you don't die, you can just keep holding on to that pocket OV for as long as you want. TLDR, the Gyrfalcon's Hauberk, however you call it, is good. like really, really good. If you're a hunter player and you don't really know what else to wear in PvP or PvE, you literally now have a rock solid backup option for life. Provided it doesn't get a hard nerf, I could close my eyes and recommend it to any new player in D2. A nerf may come in the future, but until then, have fun. Do you think Falcon is too strong? Not strong enough? Just right? Hit me with your thoughts down in the comment section, and if you missed it, please go watch the video of me Sherpaing 2 Fortnite streamers through the GOA dungeon. On God, one of my favorite videos ever. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on stream.